We'll go ahead and get started. So thank you everybody for joining our Brunch and Learn today, where we're going to be talking about some of the latest innovation that Argano Arbella team have been able to put together for our customer base. What we're going to be focusing today and looking really into is how we've gone ahead and done some AP invoice entry automation build activities. What we wanted to do is give you a demonstration as well as kind of give you a bit of a deep technical dive into the technology and into how AP invoice entry automation works from with respect to the Power Platform. So what we'll do from an agenda perspective is we'll go ahead, for those of us that may not be totally familiar with Argano Arbella or some of the individuals who would be presenting for you today, we'll go ahead and set aside some time for that. And then we're going to hop on into the AP invoice entry automation. We'll talk a little bit about the components. We'll give you an overview of the different steps within the process of AP invoice entry automation. We'll provide you a demonstration, and then we'll go ahead and do a technical dive as well within the framework of what we're going to be talking about. And then, of course, we'll have a Q&A at the end. If you do have any questions, though, please feel free to go ahead and chat them into the chat box in case you might forget by the time we get to the Q&A section at the very end. And really what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be highlighting the power of Microsoft Power Platform, in terms of how it can integrate not just with across the Power Platform, but also within context of Dynamics 365 and the productivity suite as well, and that includes Microsoft 365 or Office 365. So what we'll go ahead and do is just a quick round out about Argano Arbella. Argano Arbella, we are a Microsoft Inner Circle partner. So basically that means we've been recognized as not just amongst one of the premier revenue performance partners, but also one of the premier customer satisfaction partners within the Microsoft Dynamics ecosystem. So thank you to all of our customers that have helped us reach this recognition. And we do also have, a couple other points of note, including having 11 gold certifications, many hundreds of Microsoft certification exams passed, as well as having 4 integrated practices. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Corey Bakhtiari. I'm the head of innovation. So basically, part of my responsibility is working across all the different business units at Argano Arbella to help drive business impact, leveraging new technologies such as what we're going to show you today. So with that, I want to go ahead and also ask some of our other team members to quickly introduce themselves. So I'll go ahead and list it out. Ravi and Vipul, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourselves as well?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, everyone. I'm Ravi Iyer. I'm a solution architect with Argano Arbella and been working with Dynamics since 2001, mainly in finance and supply chain. So I will be doing parts of the demo today. Vipul?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. I'm Vipul. I'm working as an associate technical consultant at Argano Arbella. I'm basically based from India. I joined this organization around 7 months back, and it's been a great learning experience from then. Today, I will present some of the AI stuff that AI Builder can build. Thanks. That's all about me.
Appreciate it, Vipul. And Ravi, thank you both. And then we've also got a couple other folks on the call. So we're going to also have, as we need to have a deeper dive conversation, we also have Maggie O'Brien from the innovation team. Thank you, Maggie, for hopping on, as well as Misha Jover, as well as Erica Bezel, and on the client success side, Janine Warner. Janine, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Janine Werner from the Client Success team here on the webinar today, and you'll hear from me a little later as well.
Great. Okay, got a big team here for everybody. All right, let's hop on into it. So one of the things that we really like to drive towards here at our Argano Arbella is how can we integrate or mesh together all the different components within the Microsoft ecosystem to help drive impact for our customers. Now, what we're going to be looking at today here is how the productivity suite, specifically Exchange, Outlook, and Microsoft 365, can work within the Power or with the Power Platform, leveraging Power Apps, leveraging Power Automate, leveraging AI Builder to basically integrate or perform activities within the context of Dynamics 365 intelligent business applications. One of the things that we'd like to do is just make sure that we take full advantage of your existing investment, either within the Microsoft Productivity Suite, Dynamics 365, because a lot of both of those license SKUs, you will potentially be entitled to Power Platform like licenses as well. So one of the things that we want to make sure that everybody is aware of is that some of these things, while when it comes to the building activities, there will be a certain amount of investment associated with it, but you would be essentially entitled to leverage a lot of the components that we're going to be talking about today as being just Dynamics 365 customers. So what we're going to be doing is kind of taking you through the core components being around the Power Platform, and really at the end of the day talking about technology and its application. So oftentimes when we think about feature or functionality or technology, it can be really neat to just speak about the potential, the constraints as a result of it, but really where you find most of the value is in the application of technology, right? There are many historical references as far as technology sometimes being advented or being invented, and the application or the real effective high impact application of that technology coming a little later on. So what we want to make sure to do is we communicate that as we get familiar, as we leverage the new Microsoft technology that comes out, we find appropriate and useful applications. So as we're going through this, it's also would be important for you to note that the application that we're going to be specifically talking to today is not the only potential application, right? We're going to be talking about Power Automate, which essentially is going to allow you to do process automation activities, right? Think about if-then type of activities, right? Triggering to perform an action. We're going to be looking at AI Builder, right? AI Builder basically is going to allow you to do things like training models, right? So you can build models that will be able to perform certain activities. And the main difference between AI and ML versus automation is that the AI ML component allows you to work with more dynamic variables, right? So you're going to be able to look into how AI Builder is going to help in specific frameworks or specific contexts, work with more dynamic sets of variables, like maybe different formats of invoices, right? And how we're going to be able to scrape data from that. And then we're going to be looking at the data management framework, for example, building out manifests in order to do integration activities. And basically at the end of the day, we're going to be showing you how you can automate your AP invoices within Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain Management. So what we also like to do is we talk a little bit about some of the benefits that something like this specific application is going to be able to yield. First off, like with any automation activity, one of the key benefits is going to be associated with operational efficiency. Think about tedious, error-prone activities, manual activities, anything that even already exists within the digital framework, you can potentially automate. Right? So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at how we can automate some of these activities so you can have less, so you can reduce costs for specific operations like invoice entry. They take less time and you have less errors associated with the entry of those invoices. One of the key benefits of this as well, and oftentimes this tends to be a little bit of perceived drawbacks of automation is that this would negate potential, user interaction. But really what we find is that as technology moves more towards automation, moves more towards leveraging things like artificial intelligence and machine learning, what this allows those users who would otherwise be doing those more manual activities to do is do more high value add activities, things like doing analysis, right? So think about the AP clerks who would typically be doing the invoice entry. Right now, they're going to be doing or potentially be able to do more things like perform an analysis on maybe vendor spend, doing forecasting on vendor spend, thinking about different types of maybe agreements based on vendors so that they can drive value where human interaction would provide more import. And then also lastly, we're going to demonstrate how the power of cloud technology can drive this type of impact, specifically things like low code, no code applications. So basically what we're going to go ahead and do, and then I'm going to hand this off to Ravi, is we're going to show you the following scenario. We're going to be talking about basically an invoice getting sent to an email address. We're going to go ahead and scan and filter for specific subject criteria. We're going to capture elements. We're going to then also scrape that in order to capture the relevant information, provide validation, build out a manifest, store it in an appropriate location, import it, send a notification, and then process an invoice. So with that said, Ravi, I'll go ahead and hand this over to you.
Thanks, Corey. So what you see here is if I'm playing the role of a AP professional, and let's say the backend AI builder model does its thing. So there's an email that is sent by a vendor with the AP invoice attached, or it could be an upload, some electronic way of getting AP invoices to ap@arganoarabella.com or AP invoices at abccompany.com. So once we have the electronic PDF or electronic file of the AP invoice, we can trigger the AI builder application. And what it does is basically, if you see the left, you have all these fields being read by the AI builder model. And it tells you, and this is a backend process, I'm just showing you what it would do, but it tells you, the percent success. So it's read the invoice date, the invoice number, the PO number, maybe some basic information around name of the company or the vendor, as well as if it's a PO invoice, you can see the item number, item name, some of the costs and quantities, etc. So all of these are fields that the AI builder model can read and learn over time. So if you're working with different AP invoice formats, the AI builder model can learn it and then put the field values into discrete fields. So invoice number, for example, is a discrete field that we've scraped from the PDF file. Due date, invoice date, etc. So all of this is configurable. And if there is, for whatever reason, a glitch, and if the PDF is not very clear, and if an AP professional needs to manually update a field, we have that option as well. So this is a front-end Power App that uses the AI builder model behind the scenes so that an AP professional can interact with the AP invoice data. And then once you're done validating and reviewing the invoice, I can hit validate or hit next invoice, depending on what your process is going to be. So this is configurable. This is a Power App configuration. So you can add any button you want, and clicking the button can trigger the push to Dynamics 365. And of course, here in this example, I have a PO invoice, purchase order AP invoice, but this could apply also for a non-PO invoice. So if you just have a miscellaneous AP invoice not tied to a purchase order, the same approach would work. So once the front-end AP invoice is processed, so if someone from the AP department processes the invoice, behind the scenes, what the system's doing is through the data package that gets pushed to Dynamics 365, we are pushing these invoices to accounts payable pending vendor invoices. So this is a place where typically when you're working just with D365, we do tend to use this form or the invoice journals. So in my example, I have this form as the destination for my AP invoice that's been read. And then from here on, the fields are populated in a standard format. So all the invoice number fields, the date fields, as well as the lines, the PO lines, they get populated from the AP invoice in the PDF. And then on the right, we also have attached to the invoice record in D365. Behind the scenes, it's using SharePoint or Azure Blob Storage to store the physical image. So that's the flow, and from here on, it's all standard D365. So you can add a workflow if you want to route it for a second set of eyes, second approval, or it could just be a simple matter of posting it. And if you want to automate that further, you can also just have a batch process that automatically posts the invoice. So the actual business process can be anything you want. We just have a front end for an AP professional, and then once this is processed, it can land in the appropriate invoice tables in D365. Okay. So with that, I'm going to hand off to Vipul, who will talk about the back-end configurations to make this happen, make what I showed you happen.
Yeah, so I will just thanks Ravi for showing the Power Apps and FNO part. Like now I will take you all to the Power Automate side, like how it is triggering the flow and all. It is a process to like automatically import vendor invoices to the workflow. So we have created 3 flows in our solution. First one is AVI trigger. Second is AVI vendor lookup. And the third one is AVI submit. So the flow will get whenever a vendor sends an email with an invoice, the AVI flow will get triggered, and the flow will get each of the attachments received from the vendor and create attachment folder in our SharePoint. And then it processes them using our trained AI model, that is form processing. And it will extract the fields like specified by us while training the model which we want to extract from our invoices. So getting ready the AI model is another step, and I will show you all the form processing model we created for this, like after going through this flow. So after extracting the fields from this AI builder, if the invoice number is empty, or like if our model didn't recognize it correctly, then it will send an invalid template email, or else the flow will continue and it will send an HTTP vendor lookup request to our second flow. This is our second flow, and if this flow is thus, what does this do is flow responds back by searching the vendor in our records using the vendor name. And if the flow, and it will give us the response back to over the main flow. And if the flow is not able, like if our flow is not able to found the vendor in our account or data, so it will send vendor not found email to us. And if it is able to find, then our flow will continue. So the flow will continue and add data that we got from invoice into our Excel files. These 3 Excel files are vendor invoice header, vendor document attachment, and vendor document line. So these are present in SharePoint folder. And as data packages in Microsoft Dynamics has a specific structure, like we need to get manifest and package header in our SharePoint folder along with these 3 files. So after adding data into our SharePoint, it will send an HTTP post request to our third flow. And the third flow is what is doing is it is creating a zip folder and uploading the data package to the Dynamics. And it will upload and respond back to our main flow, and then the flow will send a confirmation email like your invoice number this has been received. So we will have a record of data package stored in our SharePoint folder with the given name specified by us and also in the Dynamics finance and operation. So I think that's all from the Power Automate side, like how we are automating the flows and using the AI model. So now how I leverage in our flow that AI builder, I can show you that, like what is AI builder and how it is working. So AI builder is just a platform which provides an experience for like every user to build their Power Apps and Power Automate flows. And it provides us many models to design to optimize our business processes. So as you can see here, there are many models like there are invoice processing, sentiment analysis, and business card reader, text translation, and many more. We can use everything in these. And so to recognize for this solution, like for AP automation, to recognize information that's specific to our business, we have to create a invoice custom form processing model. So I will show you the model I created and used in our solution. So this is the model, invoice model. It will just take a second and it will just pop up. So it has an score of 98% accuracy, and we can improve this, like we can go to 99 and more than just that. So we can improve this adding more sample invoices or examples. We trained our model to extract the information like these: invoice number, bill to, due date, contact, and many things like all the tables in the invoice if we have. So we can also view more details and show like what we are getting and how score we will be getting in everything. So in this we are getting a very good score of 99, 93. If in this we are getting 80, so we can think like it will not work or like that, but it will always work, and we can train and improve this score by just adding more examples. So that's from AI builder, and there are many collections. So we can create different collection. So collection is a group of documents that our model will study. So we have to put similar documents in a collection. If we have like different layout invoices, we have to create more collections. So it will work for different layout of invoices too. So I will just ran a quick test too. So AI builder allows us to improve and speed up the business process capabilities. So it is making easy to access AI for us. It will just analyze, and we can use this in our Power Apps and Power Automate, like Power Apps like the Ravi showed us, and it is detecting vendor name as Contoso Electronics with an confidence score of 99%. And if by some chance, if we didn't get it right, we can edit it like the Ravi showed us. So it will like extract all the fields which we want to extract. And like for the table, here it is. It is getting all the things with the dollar and cost, amount, quantity, everything right. So it will automate, and it is like the future because Microsoft providing the feature of AI builder. It proves that like Power Platform to be the need of the industry in the future. And the best thing is it keeps changing and improving day by day. So after this, we can use model in our Power Automate and Power Apps, and we can leverage that AI. So thanks. That's all from my side. Now, Janine, can you take on, please?
Right. Thank you, Vipul. All right, we'll go ahead and hop back into our presentation. Right, so thank you. So what we just went through was basically an overview of a vendor sending an invoice, power automating, reading, AI builder, capturing certain information, a validation occurring, storing in SharePoint, and then importing finally into the ERP. All right, and then indeed, Janine, go ahead and hand it off to you for some next steps.
All right, thank you, Corey. Let me get to this one. All right, so for those of you that don't know, what do we do? Argano, Arbella, and the Power Platform. So we at Argano, Arbella, we believe that the Power Platform is the next generation of the productivity suite, similar to Office when it started 25 plus years ago, this year, I believe. It's just what we consider and what we've seen to be the next wave of productivity. And it's important for the efficiency and overall productivity for your organization to have a look at this and take advantage of it kind of in the early stages. It's a low-code platform that anyone that knows Excel and the formulas within Excel, plays around with pivot tables, all that fun stuff, you can work with the Power Platform. It's not something that you have to be an engineer or software engineer or anything like that, or maybe in IT. You could still play around with it, and it's something you could do. You can look at it, you can try and digitize your manual or paper-based processes, which we're all looking to do these days. And that just automates everything and gets into that digital transformation type of stage. So you can look at this to augment your existing infrastructure and, more importantly, extend those legacy business applications. You want to go next slide, Corey? All right. So if you want to apply what you've seen today, we are offering a rapid deployment of the Power Platform-based technologies. We'll look at your business needs and then provide guidance for adoption of the Power Platform. This includes, showcasing Power Platform as it solves challenges for a business like yours, an evaluation of the Power Platform, a Center of Excellence journey, and then deployment of a discrete Power Platform solution. AP invoice entry automation, which you've seen today, we have an offer for just 10,000 USD to implement that and get that going for your company. If you want more information, you can contact info@arbellatech.com, or if you're an existing client and know you're a client success manager, you can reach out to them too.
Thank you, Janine.
Yes.
So we are open to some questions. If anybody has any questions, you can feel free to chat them, and we'll have our subject matter experts here go ahead and address them. Some things that do typically come up with respect to this are things like licensing. What sort of licensing is out there that would facilitate the adoption of this specific scenario. So I'll go ahead and I'll just start by kind of talking a little bit about that as we wait for some questions to come in. So with most of your Dynamics 365 licensing, you do get some Power Apps entitlement. Similarly, with your Microsoft 365 or Office 365, you will get some Power Apps entitlement as well. There are some conditions around that. For example, if you're leveraging your Power Apps entitlement through Microsoft 365, typically that only allows you to work with certain connectors or certain data sets, data sources that reside on the Microsoft 365 platform. So think about it like SharePoint. This specific scenario may require, depending on your existing licensing outlook, an additional procurement of some Power Automate licenses in order to accommodate the AI builder scenario. But we find that, depending on the specifics of how many invoices, for example, you plan on processing, that can only be it could range, you know, in the hundreds of dollars per month range. So I think we do have a question. So the monthly cost for this, you know, would be essentially this AI builder component. That could be anywhere, you know, depending on the amount of invoices associated that you want to go ahead and process, in the hundreds of dollars. So it would be around $500 to $1,000. The way that the AI builder licensing model works is it's on a consumption basis. So basically what we do is we'd work with you to identify the approximate amount of invoices you would want to process in a given month, and then we can go ahead and provide you the exact number or the exact cost associated with being able to support that kind of a workload. But you know, anywhere from $500 to $1,000 per month. Okay, we do have a hand up.
We had a question. I just want to clarify the pricing model here. So you said $500 to $1,000 depending on the number of invoices you want automated. What is the, regardless of the number, so the maximum we charge $1,000 even if we have 10,000 invoices versus 1,000 invoices?
No. So I would say typically it would land in the 500 to 1,000. It could very well be more. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and bring up the specific licensing model, and I'll share the link. 500 to 1,000 would support around 1,000 invoices. So depending on the exact amount of invoices you would be processing, it could be more. So thank you for that seeking of clarification.
Yeah, and I have a further question for you. So who owns the kind of the setup of that of the logic going forward? Is your company? You might have covered this, but we had some connectivity issues here at work, so we lost some of the presentation. So you go through you help us set up the logic. Hey, how should the system interpret the invoices based on what data? And then once it's set up, there'll be ongoing changes that we need to make. Who is responsible for making those changes? Do you train us so we own our own logic, or is that something that your company supports?
So what we would, we'd work with you to support that. The nice thing is that we would typically like to maybe hand over ownership with respect to this, because this is a low code, no code platform. And, you know, a lot of the barrier to entry from like a professional developer perspective isn't really there. So as long as you've got some IT base knowledge, you would be able to support this yourself moving forward. So ideally, and I think this would make sense also maybe from your perspective, we would transfer ownership of supporting this over to your organization. Of course, if you would like, you know, maybe to leverage a managed services sort of a relationship to be able to support this as well, that is something that we do offer. So, you know, I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, it would be up to you in terms of how we would want to support this moving forward.
Yeah, and we already have that managed service agreement with your company.
Exactly.
And sorry, one last question then along the same lines. So there's a setup fee at the beginning, or is there a license fee of the technology in addition to that per invoice, not per invoice, but what comes to be about per $1 per invoice charge?
There will be an implementation fee, yeah. And right now, we've got some assumptions that we would be built into this, but it would be a $10,000 implementation fee associated with the deployment of that specific scenario with an integration to D365 that we just showed you. So
and how about the license fee? How about the
license fee would be separate. So there would be, I'll be really clear here, or I will seek to be really clear here. So there will be no Argano Arbella licensing fee. Okay. There will just be a Microsoft licensing fee for the components that we would be leveraging to do this implementation. So that would be like the Power Automate AI Builder, and that would be based on the number of invoices you would be wanting to process. I'm going to be sending you a link for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So what I would point you to would be this this site. So what we've gone ahead and done is we've used the form processing model, and then depending on how many we would want to process, there is a way that we would be able to calculate it. So 2 units would essentially be able to, 2 units at around 500 per unit would support 4,000 pages of processing a month. So that would be kind of the way that I would look at it. So, a single unit being around $500 per month would support 2,000 transactions. So, and then obviously the more you would go up, the potential for more for discounting on a per unit basis, but you would have to a few.
And I'm sorry, when you say unit, do you mean an invoice, or would that include like a page? What's a unit? What's the definition?
No, a unit is basically just how Microsoft categorizes or classifies a workload, right? So a unit would support, so you see 2 units of AI Builder would support 4,000 pages of processing. So basically a unit is just how they would price it, right? So at a consumption level, because they wouldn't price it per page or per process. They would price it on a bulk number of those, if that makes sense.
So this is kind of Microsoft license fee. Is that how? Yeah, got it. That's in addition to the 500 to $1,000 that you're talking about earlier, or is that what you were referring to?
It is. They are separate. It would be in addition.
Yes, got it. Okay.
And if you are interested, obviously, what we can provide you more formal quotes, something that you can really take home, so to speak, by sending a note to the info@arbellatech.com, or just reaching out to your client success or client care representative. They would be able to help get you in touch with the team to provide you some precision around what that cost would look like.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Was there another question? Okay, I saw a question mark. Apologies.
I saw Kathy had a question. Yeah, but I think maybe that was one that I had addressed a little bit earlier.
Perfect.
Yep, that was the monthly cost. Yeah, that's what everybody seems to be interested in, is what that cost looks like, and that would be just that Microsoft licensing cost. And obviously any type of support, which I would highly recommend you would move on to that. You would move towards a client care contract to be able to support something like this moving forward. So remember, this is basically a leveraging of Microsoft technology to deploy a solution. So what this is basically allowing you to leverage the Power Platform to replace certain components of DoOp. Now, what I would say that what the specific scenario we showed you here was around AP invoice entry automation, right? So what I would separate in the interest of just clarity and transparency is that invoice entry component, right? So a lot of the AP automation vendors would also incorporate other types of activities like invoice matching, workflows, and things like that reside outside of an application like D365, right? In this scenario that we showed you today, essentially you would just be using the AI Builder and the Power Platform to capture the invoice, do some initial validation, import it into your D365 business application, and then the D365 business application will take the rest, will follow the rest of your steps, right? So if you've got any type of approval setup, any type of invoice matching validation, and then obviously any payment processing as well, that would all be done in the D365 application. So I hope that helps clarify as far as what that difference would look like. This does not automate the whole AP process. This is specifically with respect to the invoice entry components, while you would then be leveraging your For example, in what we showed you, the Dynamics 365 finance and supply chain management capabilities for all subsequent activities in that process. Great. Well, thank you. Hey, good questions, everyone. What we're going to go ahead and do, just as was requested and as I believe is typical manner, we will go ahead and send out an email, much rather, with the recording as well as with this PowerPoint for reference, and really hoping that y'all reach out to your client success or care representative and see if this is something that could be a potential fit for you all. So thank you, everyone, and thank you to our Argano Arbella teachers as well.